Well, hello. I see some hellos coming in the chat.
Hello, hello. Beautiful hearts, here we go. And we're
Welcome to another Quantum Conversation. I'm Loren Gailey, and I invite you to sit back as we enter the quantum realm, that space of the greater part of you. It is your connection to infinite possibilities, infinite potential, and infinite mastery.
welcome, 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 beautiful hearts. Thank you so much for joining us. This is a new summit series that we're so excited to present to you because this is psionics, developing psionics, our psychic skills, our telepathic skills, our intuition, all of the multidimensional information that is innate within us, but it's been turned off along the way by society, teachers, preachers, parents, the world. And so now we are reclaiming it again. My guest today is Godelieve Willer. She is a beautiful soul and a wonderful guide for you to reclaim these faculties within yourself because she did it within herself. She was born already tuned in and tapped into her gifts, but she shut them down like so many of us. So her story is one of reclaiming and how we can all reclaim. Let's welcome Godelieve to this beautiful quantum conversation. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome. And you are muted, Goddess. You're muted.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Yeah, thank you, Lauren. I love sharing space with you, and I'm excited to be here and do some readings and take questions later too.
Yes, so if you are joining us on YouTube, click the link in the description box and you'll join us on Zoom where you can ask your
Hmm.
question through your voice. So this is a beautiful opportunity. So what do you find, like in your own life? We can start with that because that's what made you this beautiful guide for the rest of us. Where did you find that you were blocking your clairs or any of your skills, your innate, when you shut that down, what was that like to rekindle all of that?
Yeah, good question. Because I shut down majorly in multiple areas, as many of us do, in particular in my clairsentience, because I was born really feeling everything. So that took some time. But I'd say probably about I was 18, that was really shut down. My clairvoyance also, because I grew up in an environment where that was not okay. It was a very religious environment, and uh, that was evil if you could see things about people because you didn't have permission to see things about other people, right? Just everything, all of the clairs started shutting down really. And actually it's through this reclamation. I love how you said reclaiming, because that's what it is. It's reclaiming these innate parts of ourselves. They are parts of yourselves, right? And so it's important that we reclaim them and take ownership of them, right? um, it's through that process of myself that I really started developing, okay, what are the key elements that were at play in helping me reclaim my gifts? What did I have to do? What took place without me consciously realizing it? But then I only with hindsight could say, oh, that's what occurred, right? And so over the years, I really kind of developed this understanding and methodology to help walk other people through this kind of holistic process of elements that are involved.
Beautiful. That's really powerful. And so, how did your life change
Oh my goodness.
when you did that? You were a whole different person. You
A
trusted in
completely
yourself.
different person.
No more
Um,
anger or anything. Well, maybe a little bit, but you
what
were
would you say? Sorry, the last part?
no more anger. I mean,
Oh,
or depression because you were.
absolutely. Absolutely. In that process, and this is a long process, I'll just give you a high level, my understanding of it. We take on all these limitations, let's just call them, right? conditioned beliefs, programming on how to be, and we start moving away from who we really are in order to conform with what the world wants us to be. And by the world, it could be, you know, your immediate family growing up, or school, or society, and that just keeps going on and on until, you know, in my case, I was so far removed from who I really was that I really moved into depression and really just aimlessness. I was completely lost. Like, if you asked me, oh, what are you passionate about? Or what do you want to do with your life? It was just like, I have no idea. And I was just searching for approval. Okay, is it, you know, the society approves of left brain activity, so I'll go into business consulting and I'll be best at that, right? And or do my best at that. And really moved away from myself. That process, to answer your question about how did it change my personality, when I look back now, as you undo who you are not, so as I undid the disempowering beliefs, as I removed those limitations about what's possible for me, as I allowed myself to open up that heart again and touch upon and release those old wounds and those traumas, it really dismantles the personality. And eventually you start realizing on the other end, and I know that's not just for myself, but when I see in clients and people I work with, when I see them come out the other end, essentially they're more of who they always were as a spiritual being and less of the human limitations, right? So it's like you keep the empowered parts, right? Your true nature, I call it, right? And you let go of those parts that no longer serve your highest path. So that's kind of in a nutshell. So your personality does change when you start opening your gifts, because inherently it goes hand in hand. When you release old traumas, when you let go of old disempowering beliefs, you're automatically kind of upgrading your vibrational alignment. You're opening access to your clair abilities, which also includes access to memory of who you are as a spiritual being, right? So it can't not affect your personality, right?
Very good, very good. And so the healing, the release of those beliefs, those limiting belief systems was a healing. So, you know, if we can look at this as an anatomy of a belief system, it is so if it's a negative limiting belief system, when we just let that ruminate, those thoughts just keep going around and around and around, that's actually blocking higher information from coming in,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. And yeah, but there are, you know, I would love to, if it's okay with you, share with the audience today some of the main categories of things that block psychic perception. And
Please,
then
yeah,
too, if we, you know, if we have time, I'd love to then start exploring more about, okay, so if those are some of the blocks, how can we expand psychic perception? Right?
beautiful.
Yeah. But you're already touching on one of the biggest things that is a block, which is subconscious beliefs, right? So I'm going to start first though with conscious beliefs. One of the first categories, you know, that I see and that I went through also was conscious beliefs and mindset. So sometimes we have very conscious beliefs that are limiting our ability to, for example, see, hear, feel, sense, right? An example would be, let's say you grew up in an environment and fairies and dragons and elves were not real. They don't exist, right? And so if you really believe that, and that's a conscious belief, then it's going to be very difficult for you not only to see those beings, but even to recognize when you see a being or sense a being's presence that doesn't fall into the category of your existing beliefs. So if you only believe that humans have spirits that move on and animals don't, right, then you're going to have a hard time recognizing when this being comes up. And let's say it's a being that you don't believe in, right? So that's blocking, you know, the real clarity of the psychic information that's around to be perceived, right? There's also mindset. Mindset is key. So another example is, you know, and I went through this myself, but let's say someone who always, like, I mean, someone who does intuitive readings or mediumship, let's say, and they've always read with someone in front of them, either in person or on Zoom, let's say, and then they're confronted with this situation where they're invited to do readings remotely, where they don't see the person. So maybe they just hear their voice, or maybe it's written in a question, right? And so they're like, well, I can't read. I need someone to be in front of me, right? Well, often all it takes in this category, all it takes is a flipping of a false belief. So the false belief would be related to, okay, my spiritual abilities are a part or fall under the physical realm physics of limitation, right? And so that's a false belief because our psychic abilities are outside of time and space, right? So they transcend time and space. So often it's a flipping of a false belief and just fleshing out a deeper awareness of how your psychic abilities work that literally can go from not being able to read someone remotely to in minutes being able to read remotely. So I've seen this happen. Sometimes it really is conscious beliefs and mindset that get in the way. The second category, though, which you've already touched on, is the subconscious beliefs, right? A lot of people really struggle with that and aren't really aware that sometimes our subconscious parts of ourselves have very competing or contrary agendas to what our conscious mind desires and wants, right? And there are, like, this is a huge category. There are so many types of subconscious blocks. I mean, a big thing about that also that is important is how to recognize when a subconscious block is arising. So, for example, a huge red flag to show you that you're in resistance and that there's a block to something is procrastination and avoidance, right? So many people, right, that come to me and so I really want to improve my clairvoyance and, I've always wanted to do this. And so then I ask them, okay, so how often do you practice? And then it's like, oh, well, I mean to, but then this gets in the way and then, or they're really honest and then like, honestly, yeah, I sit down and try and then I'm like, oh crap, let me just put a load of laundry in first. Or, oh, maybe I'll do it tonight when it's quieter, right? Like we put it off, we avoid it, we procrastinate. That's a huge sign that there's a subconscious part of you that doesn't want you to practice and open up that gift, right? And then that's a whole nother show topic, Lorraine, about why would there be a competing thing? But essentially, it's, the persona's job, part of the ego, is to keep us safe. And so if earlier in your life, there is any indication that it might not be safe to use your gifts, whether it's because you were ridiculed when you're younger or you were just told by your people around you that it's not okay or it's not real or, whatever the flavor of it was, your subconscious took on that belief that that's not safe. That's not a good activity. That's not going to get you more love, more acceptance, more whatever, right? And of course, maybe that was true at one point in your life, right? But now, does that belief serve you on your highest path now, right? So this is where it's really important to delve into what's in the subconscious, right? And I'll touch upon that a little bit more, in my opinion, the best way to do that. So the next category is learned habits, or what I call a trained brain, right? So we all get habituated into certain habits. And it's important to notice them, and it's important to retrain to support whatever new desire you're doing. And so in this case of this show, we're talking about expanding psychic perception, right? Same thing, a trained brain. So our brains are constantly collecting trillions of data bytes of information every second, right? And so the brain is highly efficient, right? And it's going to filter out whatever it doesn't deem necessary or important for this life situation, this embodiment, let's say, right? And the thing is, though, is we train our brains, right? Starting from an early age, we start unconsciously selecting what information should be conscious, what information just goes to the background, right? And so that brain becomes trained. Now, the great thing is, right, we know neuroplasticity can happen at any age, right? So we can make new neural pathways at any age. And the analogy I use, it's like when you first learn to drive a car, you got to really consciously go, okay, I got to put my hands here and, oh, my feet got to do this at the same time. And it's like, you got to focus some attention, right? Eventually, though, we all get into our cars now, and most of us, our bodies are so trained, our brains are so trained on how to move our body and drive this car that most of the time we're not even paying attention to driving a car. We're daydreaming about something else, right?
Yeah.
So the trained brain aspect and the learned habits is a really big piece. You know, another example of a trained or a learned habit, which is a big one that I encourage everyone to pay attention to, is when an uncomfortable emotion arises, you suppress it down, right? And most people, it's so habitual now. Before it even really rises, it's suppressed so fast that they don't even notice it. But this is not natural. I mean, as a baby, babies don't suppress their emotions. That's why they cry, right? So that is a learned habit, right? And so there's so many learned habits. So this is another big category of things I deal with and that I see is these learned habits and the brain that filters out information. That actually, though, is easy to retrain your brain, but it does, like I said, take some attention and intention at the beginning, just like learning to drive a car, but it's not difficult. So any questions before I move on to the next category?
I love it. Thank you for this. And as you're sharing, I'm looking at some of the things in life that distract us from this. For example, you said fairies don't exist. Or like if we like toning. So if we begin to play around with these and say, okay, fairies do exist, or ghosts do exist. You know, if any of us have ever had an experience with a ghost, that right there is a big door opener into this,
Totally.
right?
Switches
Because
your
then
belief
we're like,
system.
wow, because now we believe in it. Now we believe in it. And I'm looking back in my own life, and I have to say, you know, the first time I heard toning, a group of people were toning for a man, and I laughed and I laughed and I laughed. But what happened for me was that was actually a catalyst for me to give myself permission to begin toning. And
Yeah.
since then, I have toned birds back into a conscious state, like they were knocked out or dead, I don't know, but they were breathed back into life from
Gorgeous.
my toning, and then just me allowing myself to tone more. I had memories come back in. So this, I just want to share this as an example of how this process works. And if I didn't have that awareness of people toning where I was laughing at it, I never would have opened up that gift. So
Mm,
is that okay to, like, you know, isn't that interesting that I was laughing at something, but
totally.
that laughter actually shook me free from a belief. It
Yeah.
totally put me up to it.
I think that's gorgeous. I'm so glad you shared that. I love also that you touched on, you didn't say the word permission, but essentially you gave yourself permission to tone, right? And so
Yes.
I see that all the time. And when I first started seeing it, I thought, oh, that's weird. That's weird. But I had it in myself too, this unconscious like idea that I need permission to do something, right? So that's actually very common. I think it does stem from a lot of our upbringing, especially little girls, right?
Mhm.
Um, you know, it's really about you have to be nice, you have to be this little image of the nice quiet little girl, polite girl, right? And you know, always having to ask permission to do something. Can I do this, right? So I think it must stem a lot from that, but a lot of people have this, especially women. I see, that's why I have that theory. But yeah.
But yet there's women's intuition.
Hmm.
We know what we know. And so if we just go to that, that would be a great start
A great
to
start, I agree. But
a
why
great
stop, why stop there? So I'm just gonna
and
put a
most of
little
us
behind
do
that.
stop there. So,
Yeah.
okay, and so I know you're going to share more. And as you share more, it's like, so then what needs to be done then as we open it up? I know you've got a process. And for those who are on Zoom with us, you're going to be able to ask questions and get a mini reading with Godelieve. So, all right, share more about some of the blocks and then ways that we can, gosh, work to again expand this a little bit more.
Yes. Okay. So let me share another element. I think it's a couple elements that are important to address. One, the next category is vibrational alignment. right? So this is the energy configuration that you choose to show up in any given moment. So how this, represents, let me give you an example to explain it better. If you're wanting to receive a message from your guides, in scenario A or B, which do you think you'll have most success? Scenario A is you're in a nice, calm space. You sit down, you take some breaths, you're very centered, you bring yourself really present. Then you get really aware, almost like you can feel a feather floating behind you, and you can hear a pin drop in the next room. You get very calm and you're content. And then you ask your guides, do you have a message for me? What's the message for today, right? Versus you come home late from work, you're in a rush, you got to make dinner for the kids, you're hungry and exhausted yourself, the kids are arguing, you go into the bathroom real quick and you go, oh my God, guides, I need a message right now, right? Which vibrational alignment is going to be able to receive that flow of information, right? When you're calm and neutral and you're able to hear that guidance, or when your field is in stress, there's tension, because when I see someone in that, it literally is, their field is constricted, those pathways literally constrict, right? So I literally see the effect of someone's different vibrational alignment. That's why I always start with vibrational alignment. Whenever I'm doing any exercises with anyone or doing any kind of training, I get them into an ideal or optimal vibrational alignment first, and we start from there, and that makes a huge difference. And so many people surprisingly skip over that part. And then, they wonder why they're having difficulty, let's say, with their practice. It's like, well, what's the vibrational alignment you're starting in, right? Show me, right? And so that is a big thing. The other category I think is I'll mention because a lot of people wonder about it, and that is your soul plan or your natural makeup, right? So everyone is born with a soul plan, right? Just like you, Loren, part of your soul plan was creating this gorgeous network, the New Earth One, to get this information out to so many people, right? That's part of your soul plan, right? So we all have that makes a difference in your psychic perception already. And then there's your natural orientation, your natural makeup. Some people, for example, depending on who they are as a soul, or even why they came into this embodiment, will literally be born with certain gifts or abilities already kind of in operation or turned on in a way that's, let's say, more than the average person born, right? So a lot of people now, especially on the, on Earth and also being born, are being born with a much greater clairsentient ability, telepathic ability, right? Like gifts I'm seeing a lot more people who are more turned on, right? And so that's awesome, right? So for example, you may come in with a natural orientation to just feeling so much more than the average person, right? And so it's going to be really important for you to learn how to command your own energy and learn how to choose what you feel, what you don't, and where you feel it from, right? Because you don't want to be running, if you're really empathic, for example, you want to be running other people's energies through your body, right? That's not good for you, right? Or other people are, have a natural orientation where they're born with a channeling gate open, right? And so mediumship is part of their path, right? So that also plays a part in the whole big picture of how you access your clair abilities, right? So those categories, I wanted to share those with you. If you have any questions, feel free. Otherwise, I'll just continue on with then.
So as you work with your clients, how would one begin to identify if we have a channel open? Because I think many of us want to channel, and many of us are doing it without even an awareness of it.
Yeah.
How do you help your clients become aware of what clairs they have, or if they're if they have a psychic channel open?
Yeah. So I have students and clients at various levels. So it depends. But actually, it's a great question because in this package I'm offering today, in the Psychic Perception Illumination and Expansion package, one of the key pieces of it is a supersensory pathway scan. So your clair pathway scan. So I'm actually going to be looking at each of the Claire pathways and telling you, okay, how open is this one? What are the blocks in this one? Or this one is really, wanting to light up now, and I also receive a lot of messages when I'm doing that reading too. So I share everything. So if you really have no clue and you're kind of new at discovering these parts of yourself, that's very exciting. Then that kind of assessment can reveal so much. But what I find almost always happens is in that, then they're like, oh, that makes sense because I've always had this experience, right? Or I've always ... had this, or yeah, I do seem to feel a lot of this, right? So it's like some of it, it makes sense. For a lot of my other people I work with, clients and students, they're already aware that they're stronger in, let's say, one or two clairs. And for example, they're already doing or practicing energy healing in some form, whether they're a Reiki healer or they're a medium or they're an animal communicator or a plant communicator, right? Or a channeler. They're already doing some kind of work, and they want to take their skills to that next level, right? And then often, so then that assessment will be, okay, so how can we take you to the next level? Let's look at each Claire pathway, and then more is revealed on what wants to happen. And sometimes it's interesting because you may want or think that a certain Claire is the one that you want to, but then there's a subconscious part of you that is identified that is wanting to stay safe. So one thing I see as an example is so common, and I'll try to say this as briefly as I can, but feeling like your clairsentience, this is one of the Claire abilities that is the least developed by most people, because, and avoided by people, because it takes bravery to feel everything there is to feel within yourself, let alone outside of yourself, right? And so there's a lot of wounds that we just unconsciously, we don't want to deal with, right? And so it's safer to try and funnel the psychic information through the clairvoyance pathway to see the message rather than feel the message, right? So I see a lot of people who are really gifted clairsentiently, but not wanting to open that gift more because it's more comfortable to just see the messages, let's say. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So don't force ourselves into, or don't limit ourselves into, we should do it this way when we're getting the information from that feeling. For me, I think I'm more of a feeler as well. And so then if we don't hear it the way that we think we should hear it, then we could discredit the
Absolutely.
information that we're getting.
Yeah, you block it because you're expecting it and you're only looking for it in one area. Like clairaudiently, let's say you're expecting to hear your guides. Your guides are sending you messages, which always come in the form of energy, obviously, right? They don't have physical vocal cords. So it's energy information coming in. And if you're only listening for a disembodied voice to come in through your ear, you're ignoring the energy that's vibrating through your heart field.
Okay, that's my problem. And I think it's all of our problem if we're not as open as we would like, because we're not paying attention to the other senses, the other sensories. So very interesting. Okay,
Yeah. I
there are
always tell
more.
people to lean into their strong suit. So most people have some kind of psychic strong suit, right? Doesn't mean that's going to be the case all their whole life. It just means right now that's what's open. But often I do see a psychic strong suit as, okay, in this lifetime, this is the Claire or the Claire coupling that is really wanting to be used for you, right? For a specific purpose, right? Like, so often I see people as channelers before they actually do channeling because I see that gate so developed and wanting to be used, right?
Wow.
Yeah. So the psychic strong suit is something that you may or may not already be using.
Very interesting. And when we go to our audience here on Zoom, you're going to do mini readings and assist people in that way. Okay, really good. Did you want to add anything else before we move on? There is a really good question from Mahalia in our Zoom chat, but I want to give you a moment to complete your thoughts on any other blocks or impedance to our psychic expansion.
Yeah, so maybe I'll it might be interesting for the audience if I just, and I'll try and go through this quickly then, because I know we're getting on time. The holistic approach to, okay, so how now I've talked about some of the blocks, some of the categories that make a difference. How do we begin, expanding that psychic perception? And there really are some pillars that to make a holistic kind of approach and method towards unlocking your gifts, really, right? And so I have a little acronym for the major ones called TARA. So the first one is, which we kind of alluded to and touched on, is transmute. So it's transmuting those old traumas to be empowering wisdom and learnings, right? So taking an old wounded trauma, let's say of victimhood, and transmuting that lower vibrational energy and raising it up into an awareness of you are a powerful creator being, right? So transmuting the old beliefs, the old wounds, the grief, the old stuck energy, and uplifting your vibrational alignment, right? So that's one. Activations, I just want to mention, I won't go too deeply in this, but it's on this journey. I look back on my journey, I look on the journeys of my clients and what we do, and activations are a key point. Sometimes activations happen naturally, right? But also sometimes we're guided to receive activations from others, right? Some people are born with the ability and the purpose to activate others, right? And I think you're one of those people. So that's another one. The other thing is, of course, I mentioned on retraining the brain. That's key, because you can clear all the blocks, right? But if you don't address that brain and start moving the direction of your awareness to where you want to receive that psychic information, it's still going to be a problem. So retraining the brain has to happen in tandem to these other things, right? Apply. So just two more. Apply is where, okay, so this is important because I break this out from practice. Practice is another pillar on its own. Apply is, okay, most people have not fully explored, even myself, right? Because I don't even think it's possible, but most people have not fully explored our abilities. So each of the Claire pathways, I think, need to be applied. And by apply, I mean, it's like a muscle. Let's say you've never used this bicep and you all of a sudden step into this body and you're like, okay, what does this muscle do? Oh, that's interesting. I wonder if I can do this. I wonder if I can do this, right? So using your clairvoyance and actually going in there and saying, okay, what does it look like for me? What's possible? What if I do this? What if I do this? And so just exploring and discovering that part of yourself. So that's applying the super sense, the clair ability, right? Of course, then practice is when you learn a skill and you take that skill and you repeat it to hone it, to refine your results, to get clearer, more precise, like better results, right? But all those things, transmuting, activating, retraining, applying, practicing, right? In my opinion, all those things are ideally done simultaneously together at the same time. So you don't do it in a linear process, right? You're not starting with transmute, then apply, right? You're doing it all at once. And what that looks like is, if I sit down with a client who's already, let's say, working with their abilities, okay, so let's do your thing. So do your energy thing, apply it, and then go, okay, where is the resistance, right? So when I ask you to do this, why, the blocks will naturally arise, right? It's called triggering. I'm sure, Loren, you're familiar with this. When we get triggered, right? So for example, you're doing stuff and you either have, let's say, instant anxiety or a little bit of a panic attack, or maybe even anger, or something comes up. That's the sign that there's a persona there that doesn't want you going there, right? So naturally, as we begin to expand our psychic perception and use our abilities, guaranteed you are going to be confronted with aspects of yourself that don't want you doing that, right? And so that's when you go into, okay, the process of how to transmute that, right? And then at the same time, you're learning tools and techniques to discover and train and explore those gifts, right? So all these things, in my opinion, are best done at the same time when that time is appropriate. Because, for example, an activation, it'll be obvious when you're ready for that activation, right? It'll be obvious when, okay, here's a habit that we now got to retrain your brain out of, right? And create a new neural pathway, right?
I love it. Thank you so much for that. And I think we're all really aware And I think that another key thing is, as we are practicing and retraining the brain and applying, because we're working with those different clairs, and this is where your course and the offerings that you teach allow people to really apply and practice this. For example, some might say, I should be clairvoyant, but they could be the farthest from clairvoyant, right?
Yeah.
And so,
Or maybe it's not time, maybe another clair wants to be developed first before that. Because I know for me, I've had certain clairs that I thought with my human mind, you know, when I was in my early 20s, I was really communicating with a lot of passed over souls. And I
right,
thought, oh, maybe that's my life purpose. I should be a medium, right? But you know, that's not the clair that wanted to be opened first, right? And so my clairs over my years too have like shifted in terms of, you know, and now they're at a point where they're all kind of collaborating at one. But sometimes, like, you know, our higher self will mitigate and say, no, we want you to open up, let's say, your clairsentience first, so that you don't become dependent on your clairvoyance only, right? Because it's easy for a lot of people. Like I said, I see that so often. People want clairvoyance because it's safer, and they have this perception that seeing is believing, so it's more trustworthy information, right? So we have
right.
all this kind of programming going on, right? But that's our human mind. Our higher self knows best, right?
So, share your story. We're going to go to questions soon, but share your story about how, like, you wanted, you heard, did you hear the disincarnates, or did
Yeah.
you see them? And then
At
what?
that time, I wasn't seeing them, just outline. It was just like an outline. But that's when I was in that period when I told you I was really lost. I didn't know what I was supposed to do, right? And so
Yeah.
from my now looking back, yeah, I wasn't trustworthy in the eyes of my higher self that I would stay on my path, because you know, at that point I was like, oh yeah, well maybe this is my purpose, but it wasn't my purpose to be a medium, right? And so luckily, though, I was in tune enough that when that ability, I got the message and that ability started to close down, I had the awareness and understanding that, because that's not the path for me, right? And so luckily I didn't fight that and try and resist that. I just kind of accepted that, right? But that, you know, that's a very clear example of, okay, I thought, oh yeah, since this is working, must be the direction I am supposed to go, but it wasn't. Yeah.
So then what happened? What was the Claire that wanted to come out or
Oh,
expand?
so the heart center really needed to be healed. And
Ah,
so I was really at that time focusing on those clairs that didn't have me feeling, right?
okay.
And so, but I really, and then after that, boy, did the universe ever give me the triggers I needed to really crack the heart open wide. So it was not a fun time in my life, but I
Mhm.
don't regret anything now because I see the miracles that it produced. But yeah, the heart really wanted to open. And then the clairsentience, my goodness. So that's why in this package also, I always work with the heart in any program I do, because the heart is, in my opinion, I call it the crown jewel of our ultimate guidance system. It's like
Okay.
you can be the most gifted psychic energy healer, but if you're not tapping into the potential of your heart, you're going to be capped. You're going to reach a limit. And also for ascension, because I know it's a big topic that you talk with and that you share about, like this ascension process, right? You cannot ignore the heart and expect to ascend, right? We have to, it is the era of the heart, right? We need to now, yeah, take a deep breath, and everyone just kind of acknowledge that it is the era of our hearts. We can no longer ignore our hearts. We have to be brave. We have to open up our hearts and allow ourselves to feel again. And the beautiful thing is that at first it may bring up some uncomfortable emotion, but I'm telling you right now, it's easier than ever to just let that lift off and release, right? If that's no longer serving, those energies are ready to be released. And there's more assistance now on the planet than ever. I just see people clearing things now that took me years to do. You know, it's just fascinating, but it's our hearts. We can't ignore our hearts. You cannot reach your highest potential without expanding the heart. Yeah. Oh no, Loren's frozen again. Well, I don't think I'm frozen, but I don't know. So maybe I'll just look at the chat box. and see if there's a question. Okay, some people sharing what they would like. Oh, good. Someone else has also experienced it, shifting of the clairs. Yeah. I want to feel more, but don't know how. That is a common question. But so a lot of people feel like they don't know how. There's a part of you that is resisting going in and feeling those tender parts, right? So it literally is a process of, in that moment when you get triggered, let's say if you do get triggered, it's not ignoring that emotion that arises and really look at it, go, what is the belief behind this emotion that is causing me to feel this way, right? But I'll share an analogy about that has to do with that. A lot of people come to me and they say, "Oh, I can't feel anything," right? I think Loren's back. Hi,
Well,
Loren.
thank
That's
you.
okay. I just opened the chat and I was just about to answer a question.
There you go. Perfect. Go for it. And I
Well,
will.
I wanted to
I,
share an analogy because someone asked about, well, I can't feel anything, right? And here's the
yes.
analogy I use because I see this so often, right? Imagine trying to feel a feather with mud caked all over your hands, right? So you have muddy hands and you're trying to feel a feather, the feather being subtle energy, right? So yes, it's going to be difficult to feel subtle energy when your feeling channel is literally has like mud all over it, right? So you have layers of psychic debris or energetic debris, you have blocks, you have resistance. Of course, it's going to be difficult to feel subtle energy when you have all of this in between your blocking your feeling channel. Does that make sense? So once you start removing some of that, some of it is very easy to flush out. And in the workshop we're going to be doing, I'm going to do a thorough flushing out and clearing in all of the pathways plus activations. So a lot of that can be easily kind of flushed out. Some of it needs to be consciously acknowledged, right? So we'll do some of that too. But that's the analogy I use. You're trying to feel with mud all over your fingers, but that's not permanent. So yeah, just because
That's
you can't feel right now or you think you can't doesn't mean that that has to be the case next tomorrow, right? So that can all be shifted, especially if you're tuning into this, then that's part of your path, right? So yeah.
okay. You know what? I love it because as I was, I was asking before I froze and got booted off the internet. I was, do you think that then the clairsentience is the most, I don't know if it's even fair to say the most important, but it's a really good start because it does involve the heart. And as I woke up this morning and I was doing an experiment where I was really aligning with Gaia. And I was reminded of you because another show that we did on hidden wholeness, you were talking about this importance of grounding.
Yeah.
And it's almost as if we don't ground, where does the information go? So I want to just share that I was feeling down into the whole core of Gaia, and I really felt it like never before. I mean,
Oh,
it's
gorgeous.
palpable. So it's palpable. So that's key. And that's a simple task that all of us can do, right? Just
Yeah.
feel Gaia.
Yeah, and I love and you're really good. You are really primed clairsentiently, like the feeling, because when you were just explaining that, I felt that connection too, and that was amazing. So you're really good at that's gorgeous. But yeah, is it the most important? I'm not gonna say
That's not
that
fair.
per se, but what I will say, and from my own experience, here's an example. I used to, before I was really open clairsentiently, so I was very clairvoyant, but I wasn't open clairsentiently. And I would see energy coming in, let's say for me, and I'd be like, okay, like, or whatever. But let me tell you, when my because my clairsentient channel is really open, when the difference is feeling that energy, it's like a game changer. It's like, it's just like when someone can tell you they love you, but if you don't feel it, it's like, okay, it's just a concept. But when you feel the love from someone or you feel the love for someone, isn't that different? And I think in this respect, I would say that clairsentience is the most important because even if you don't see anything or hear anything, if you can follow that feeling and that feeling of the heart, the desires of the heart, you will never be led astray, right?
Yes.
So that importance of feeling, and when you feel something, it makes it more real and you gain confidence. Just like you can feel when you ground into Gaia, does it not make a difference, right? When you can feel it, you're like, then you're confident that, yes, I'm connected here, right? So I think the feeling aspect is so, so, so critical. So I love that you brought that up. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you for explaining this so thoroughly. Okay. So let's go to our callers.
Yeah, so
And
I'm going to be looking at, I mean, if people have questions about their about psychic abilities in general, for sure, but I think for this show today, I'm going to be looking at what's getting in the way of you using more of your psychic perception or your clair abilities.
okay, start with me.
Okay, let me tune into you, Loren. What's getting in the way? Okay, so immediately I am really cute. I'm seeing you have like pointy ears. So there's a very playful aspect of you that's really close to this timeline. So that's really neat. So let me just look, I just wanted to share that. Let me just look again at your clair pathways and what's getting in the way there. Okay, so clairgnostically, it's actually quite open, but there's a bit of a stream or a thread of resistance there. So I just want to look at that before I look at some of the other things that are highlighting. Okay, so still some of you, so let me just reword this a little, sorry. Okay, um, it's like a fear of, I don't know if it's safe to know that much. So it's like a little bit of a, like the information comes in and then it kind of gets slowed down in this one stream. It's like you have this idea that, oh, I want to know, but it's like, I don't know if it's safe to know that much. So that kind of belief is creating that stream of resistance in your clairgnostic channel. Let me just look at some of the other things. Part of it is and I'm feeling this heart energy, but the awareness that yes, you can expand and explore. So I don't even see it as like a big block. It's just like a thin kind of like fog almost that you just need to expand through. So this is where I would say some exploration and retraining of the brain is going to be really awesome, because it's not like a big block that some often I see like a big block, but it's like wanting to expand and you giving yourself permission to, oh yes, this is possible for me too. Because it's almost like there's this belief now that you are where you are, and it's like you're not realizing that, oh no, there's a lot more there for you waiting. So it's like stuff's sitting on the shelf, so to speak. So
Yeah.
that's also something. So I would, yeah, know that it's absolutely time and it's possible to expand those gifts. But you are very clairsentiently oriented. You do feel a lot already, which is really awesome. There's also, like I said, your clairgnostic channel is really open. So you are receiving a lot of like clear knowing already quite a bit.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And this was a great example of how you're going to operate with our next guest. And there's plenty of people who would like to know more as well. So I just want to say thank you for that. And you hit it right on the head for me. I felt that, and I actually can sense that it's like a vein of resistance.
Oh yeah, vein is a good word.
Yeah, I just have to get out of my own way. And as soon as you said belief, I was already thinking that, because there's a belief there that it's
Mm-hmm.
not real or something. So thank you.
Oh, good. That's
Okay.
powerful what you just said. I would journal
Yes,
about
yes.
that it not
Okay.
being real. Yeah.
I'm going to have some people unmute. Julie, you can now unmute and say hello. And so Godelieve, there's people in the chat that would like you to have a look. And so I can guide you on them if they don't raise their hands, right?
Sure. Yeah, that's
Okay.
probably easier.
Okay. Hi, Julie.
Hi, this
Hi,
is so
Julie.
exciting. Thank you for taking the call. Hi. Oh my gosh. I was literally like, oh, don't pick me first. And
Okay,
here I am.
well, I'm happy you're here. So let me tune into you, Julie.
Mm,
Okay, so it's almost like the front part of the persona is like, yeah, everything's okay. But in the back is a fear that I don't really believe that it's safe. So the part of you that isn't convinced that it's really safe to be using your gifts and actually be seen for who you are out there. So does that make sense? It's like when
yeah.
I'm by myself, right? What's that?
I said, yes, I have done readings in the past, but then I just had some incidences that kind of freaked me out a little bit. And then I think I just created some fear. I had some physical teachers that pretty much just stole my power instead of really teaching me. So it's been a really struggle.
Yeah. Okay. So that makes sense why, you're aware here and yes, you're aware of your gifts here, but you're afraid to, out there. That totally makes sense. So, but that is that next thing that wants to be kind of addressed right now for you to really take your abilities to the next level. And so there's a lot of
Okay.
understanding that, an awareness that you're going to go through, right? To get to that point where you feel safe out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's
Yes.
those
Yeah.
beliefs, which sounds like you have good reason, but you had some experiences, right? But those beliefs are what are creating those experiences to continue to happen in your life. So until you address those core beliefs, it might still keep happening, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So really address those beliefs. Now, in the package, I haven't talked about it, but in the package, we're going to go into that. And in the reading, I'm going to go in detail with you in the one-on-one reading with you. And we're going to have a powerful workshop too, which is going to go into beliefs big time. So
Okay.
that might be really helpful for you.
Yeah. It's something I'm really passionate about, and
Yeah.
my heart aches sometimes because I want to do it,
Oh
and
God,
put
your
myself out
heart,
there.
yeah, your heart is leading you. And trust me, I know exactly because I experienced the exact same things on my journey. Abuse of power,
Hmm.
right? I won't get
Yeah.
into details, but I also had the same experience where I thought someone was going to mentor me and really it was stealing something from me, right? So,
Yeah. Mhm.
I had to go through that same journey of stepping into my own power and learning to trust myself and not giving my power away to someone else. Because especially at the point in time where we're at now, yes, it's good to listen to people who can help guide us, but always, always maintain your own power and follow your own guiding intuition above all else, right? So never
Yeah.
give your power away to someone else.
Yeah. I've gotten over the years a lot better with that, not giving my power away. But there is still some blocks there, and it evidently is some beliefs
For sure.
deeper than what I
Yes, and
know
always
of. And
have your own discernment, run everything through your own filter. Even things that I say that Loren have said, if it didn't resonate with you, then, don't give your power away to anyone, right? So trust your own intuition. But yes,
yeah.
I would definitely address that because, you're not meant to stay stuck where you are right now. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I've been in like hermit mode for many, many years. So
So did I. Learn from my mistakes. Oh, for like a decade, I never left my house. I only went grocery shopping at like 4 in the morning at a 24-hour. I avoided people at all costs. But okay, so many blessings to you. You know what you need
yeah,
to address. It's time, honey. You're not meant to stay a hermit anymore.
okay, yeah. I even question this, like, am I even supposed to be doing this stuff? Even though my heart wants it,
Yeah, so that's a
I
persona
really
that's
question
bringing those doubts up.
it.
And
Mhm.
it's understandable why you have those doubts because it seems like challenging, like, how do I get from here to there? Right. So I do
Right,
understand that.
right,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Thank
You're
you.
welcome, love.
Uh, That
Thank you.
just opened up a whole avenue. Thank
Yes.
you.
Okay, awesome
Yeah.
work. Very good. Thank you. Cool. Okay, next here is Annette. A question. What is getting in the way of me not being able to communicate with my mother who passed away 5 years ago? It's from Annette.
Okay. So immediately I'm drawn to the heart. So there's still some grief energy, some pain energy that needs to be released. So that's blocking that heart communication because, you know, I feel like your mother does want to communicate via heart energy, right? And so grief is, you know, on one hand is a great gift when we can move through it, right? Allow ourselves to move through that grief. I understand this really well too, because it took me like 5 years to deal with the grief after my mom had passed away. And because we had a very troubled relationship, right? So allow yourself to really vent any emotions and allow yourself to work through that grief till you can get to a point where, you know, you're not emotionally charged when you go to communicate with her. So I hope that helps.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Annette, we hope that rung through your heart.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, next we're going back to our Zoom audience. Next up is Jane. Jane, hello. You are able to unmute yourself. Go ahead and say hello and ask your question.
Hi,
Hi.
Jane.
Well, I would just like you to give me just a general idea. I possess a lot of different gifts, but like I said in the chat, you know, they kind of shift around and it just depends what day it is or you know, month sometimes. So if you can give me any insight about my heart and all.
Yeah, so immediately I was touching on emotions and going down right to the bottom. And it's really, it may sound cliche because it's so common, but it's this worthiness. I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy to receive all of this information. And it's almost like you don't even know your place in the world. What would you do with that information? Right? So that's the other part that I see. So, how does that land with you?
Yeah, it certainly does. It has something to do with my astrology also. My
Okay.
first house. Yeah, I've been told that before.
Okay.
Um,
The one thing is addressing that worthiness because that's a huge piece. But the other part is what would you do with that information? It's like I'm seeing that there's no container for it to land. Your guides are just showing me the energy coming, you know, if it did come through, like there's this energy of like you don't know what to do with it. So it's almost like I'm seeing your place in the world. You're unsure of where your place in the world is. So you're not fully grounded and fully committed to your mission. So that's another whole part of it that they're showing me.
all right, could you give me any insight as to my mission that what might help?
Well, I'm going to leave that um there. So I often do these higher potential. Oh, did I freeze? I often, hopefully you can still hear me. I often do these higher
Yes.
potential readings where I really go into that, but I'm usually guided if I'm supposed to share that or not. And right now I'm guided not because often, very often, it's really important for us to discover some of that ourselves. If I were to just say it to you, it actually can disempower you. And that was true for my own journey too. I was like, I want to know. And I even went to really gifted people like asking this question and they couldn't answer, right? And I realized now it was really important for me to discover that. Otherwise, I would have always trusted what someone else said instead of what my heart was showing me, right?
Yeah. I was
So
just looking for corroboration because I've been on a mission for quite some time now. And
I would say part of your mission for sure is remembering who you are, right? Because that's going to shift a lot. Because I just see that, you know, what I was explaining earlier, as you remember who you are, then you start grounding more in the physical realm and knowing how to share your gifts. And share your gifts might just be the frequency that you hold and who you interact with and where you spread this frequency, right?
right.
Right. But
Okay.
the first part is the worthiness issue. You're not really gonna fully remember your mission as long as you're carrying that lower vibrational energy. That's a very
All right.
disempowering energy, right?
Yes, thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Yeah, I hope you continue on this path.
Definitely.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you, Jane. Okay, strange energies. What I've learned is that when we are in doing energy work like this, Zoom freaks out. So we have to upgrade the Zoom because I'm not seeing you, but I'm hearing you perfectly.
Oh,
I
yeah,
know
that's funny. It
it's
just kicked me off video.
weird.
There I am. I
There
just
you
clicked it back
are.
off and
Yeah,
on. It
thank
was on, but
you.
it just wasn't showing my video, but I'm here now.
Yes, okay. Thank you, Brad. Brad says more shungite. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, let's now go to Mahalia. Mahalia, hello, please ask your question.
Hi, Mahalia.
Hello, good evening. I am very happy to be here. And can you tell me, please, what blocking me?
Okay, so immediately as I'm tuning into your field, it's a tender heart that just wants to explode. Like you just want to radiate who you really are, which is this being of love. And there's lots of other kingdoms that are around you. You know, the fairy realms that I see plants, animals, the earth kingdoms are very much in love with you. You know what I mean? And your heart just wants to open. So I just want to share that now. So let me look a little bit about, okay, so what's that next step that wants to occur? What's blocking that heart from doing that? Okay, so really it is a real uncertainty or timidness about, I don't know what's going to happen if I do that. And it's like this energy on the back of the heart chakra that is like a protection. And it's like you feel like you need this protection around you. And so, you know, at some points for certain people, at a certain point, you know, they feel like they need like a real density to a protection around them. But eventually we realize that, you know, the love that we are, right? So we start having a natural quote unquote protection without it actually being protection. So sorry, I probably didn't explain that very well. I'm getting on a tangent there. But often when I see this protection, it's actually a block to receiving all of the information that you need to receive, and also for you emitting your own frequency, because it has such a density, right? This protection that is coming from fear, as opposed to a protection coming from knowing who you are and why you're here, right? So you can feel the difference of that, right? So that's what I see for you. But that heart just wants to radiate, and it's time. I just see you feeling like, oh, like just so much joy in your face when you are able to. And I see with those kingdoms, you do allow yourself to do that. So that's
Yes,
what I see for you.
I don't understand what's blocking me, why this so much protection, because I am open and I want to explode, to connect deeper with my heart and co-create together with the creator, with universe. And it's something there that doesn't let me.
Well, okay, so there's two things. One, your heart is so ready to, you're so close, like you really are right there. So I just want to say that. The other thing is, listen to your wording. Something's not letting me. So that's a very disempowering mindset and belief. Because because I used to believe that too, that there was things that were blocking me, right? But what I have learned 100% that it is us putting limitations on ourselves. So that is a fundamental mindset shift that I would love to suggest for you, is that no one is putting blocks on you. It's we put blocks on ourselves. We limit ourselves. And so that's where you really want to excavate, do some automatic writing. Why wouldn't I want to totally reveal myself, and, drop the protection, all yada, 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 and really see if you can excavate some belief might come up when you're writing that might really surprise you. But
Yes, thank you,
this is what I
thank you.
talked about earlier. The conscious mind and the subconscious can have opposing agendas, right?
Yes,
So
thank
it's
you.
trying to keep you safe. But like I said, it's not where I see you're at. You're so close. So it's not like you have all of these layers to remove. But you're so close. but there's a few more tweaks in your understanding and your belief system. And in particular around, I don't even remember what I said now, but there was something I said in the very beginning of what I was reading for you, that was a key piece, but I don't remember what it was now. Often when I'm doing readings, it just comes through and I don't remember what I say.
Yes.
So go back and listen to the replay.
Yes, I will do that. Thank you. Thank you very much. I am looking forward to working with you. I am already in your course, in
Oh,
your class, and thank you very much.
awesome.
Yeah.
All right, love. Big hugs to you. That's a
Thank
beautiful
you.
heart.
Thank you, Mihaela.
Thank
Awesome.
you. Thank you.
Okay. Let's go to someone in our chat. Fallon says, can you see if there's any blocks on my psionics and clairs? Fallon.
Fallon? Okay, let me just look. Okay, so I'm going right to the like behind the upper back region. There's like a pocket of energy. I just want to zoom in on that because that lit up right away what that is. Okay, so there's like a deep fear about being alone. So that's that presented right away. So let me see if there's more information or details that I should give or that I can give you there about this fear about being alone. Yeah, so it's like flavors of it's just too hard. And if I do this, it's like I'm afraid of being alone. And it's like you have this idea that you will be ostracized or that there's repercussions from if you really become this different version of you, this high upgraded version of you, let's say. So a lot of that flavor there. Now, how conscious is that to you? Because sometimes I can really tell, but in this case, I don't know how conscious that is for you. Oh, sorry, he's not live, is he? So he can't answer, sorry. So that's what I see for you. That came up as that number one block is this fear of the repercussions, and it's tied to fear of being alone, like ostracized and being, pushed away. So it could be from your loved ones, it could be from, your community, whatever. But that's what I see as that number one kind of block that comes up right away.
Okay, we've heard from Fallon, and she says extremely. It makes a lot of sense.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You hit
Okay.
it. Awesome.
You have the power to transmute that now, love, because you have the awareness of it, right? Awareness is the first step. And if you join us in this curated package, we're going to go deeper into all those Clair abilities. We're going to do a powerful releasing workshop, and then the play shop too, of course, which is so much fun.
Beautiful. We have a few more people that we want to do a few readings on. We're going to get to that. But right now, I'd like to take a moment and have you share more on this special offer, because it really is a beautiful way for people to go deeper in their own journey and to expand their psychic abilities. You've mentioned a little bit about it. I've dropped a link into the Zoom chat. Of course, wherever you got to this event today, you'll find the special offer there. So please check it out. But Godelieve, tell us more. I mean, you mentioned the course and the play shop. Is there anything else, the personal session as well? And it's such a beautiful opportunity at a very affordable price.
Yeah.
Share with us anything more you'd like to add about this program.
I think if you're already working with energy, for example, or you'd like to, like whether you're doing it professionally or not, you're just dabbling, but you want to take your skills to the next level. I've really created this package with that person in mind, right? So that detailed psychic pathways assessment reading is so fascinating. So not only is it going to be fascinating, but you're going to learn so much about your natural makeup and your energetic makeup, right? So that is so great. And then of course we have the psychic blocks removal workshop. That is I'm very thorough with my workshops. I always get that comment, right, that it's so intense and so powerful. And of course we're going to do some work in the heart, which, is everyone, could use that, right? So I added that in, and we're also doing a powerful activation. So that That's going to be awesome. And then the play shop. So I haven't really touched on it much, but this is when I'm going to start applying the methodology. And we're going to do all of those pillars that I talked about today. We're going to start retraining the brain, right? Creating those new neural pathways. I'm going to have you in each Claire pathway. We're going to do exercises for each Claire, get you in there exploring, discovering exercises, tools, techniques, etc. to really and I guarantee there will be some ahas and wows as I guide your consciousness into areas that you've likely never pointed it, right? So it's going to be really fun. You're going to start using those psychic muscles. So I call it's like a psychic muscle workout, right? So that's super fun. I've also added in an orientation preparation call. So I think that's important. And in this orientation, we're also going to be doing a beautiful intention setting process to start activating the higher potentials in your field. So already starting to increase the amount of energy there for manifestation. And that's just something that I love to include when in doing something like this. And the bonus that I'm including is great in particular for people who are maybe a little bit newer at understanding how all this works. I'm including a recorded class, what determines your psychic ability, where I go into a little bit more detail about, using your natural gifts and why you may not think you don't have any, etc. And beginning to recognize when information does come through, because that's a big thing. A lot of people, I see it coming in, but they don't recognize it until I point it out. And they're like, oh, I didn't realize that, I'm in the shower and these ideas just pop into my head, or I get this phrase for this, next song I'm going to write, whatever. That's your clairaudience, right? So a lot of the people are receiving information and it doesn't get acknowledged for what it is, right? And so sometimes just acknowledging, wow, I'm already receiving some information can be really empowering, right? So I share a lot of details like that. And I also share a lot of common tendencies and mistakes that we make when we're trying to open up our gifts. So that is a gold mine class that I really wanted to include in this package. So
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Again, you are assisting us in becoming the hero in our life again, where we are, you're a guide for it because of what you went through in your own journey. And you're really on a mission to empower us and bring us into these skills that we have. And that's a beautiful way forward. That's how we build New Earth,
yeah.
is to apply and take action on this information that we are already receiving. We just need to tune into it a little bit more, clear those blocks, and accept and receive that information. So thank you for that. I want to just say again, check out the link for this, everyone. You're going to love this class. Godelieve's classes are very popular and very comprehensive, as you can tell. And she's here to support you in many, many ways. Many people who are typing in saying that her courses are great as well. If you need assistance, there's a 2-payment plan. This is like an investment in your soul. Oftentimes we'll go to a chiropractor or a massage. This is one of those things that's going to expand our abilities and our way on New Earth more than we can even imagine. I think it's very important. And again, Godelieve, thank you for this beautiful opportunity to work with you. Awesome.
Likewise. Thank you, Loren. I love what you've created. I've been a big fan of yours for a very long time.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. No promo code is needed. You're going to find that special offer right there on the link in the chat box or where you got to this broadcast today from your email. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that. Now we're going to go back to the Zoom room and we've got Tandrika. Tandrika, hello. You can open your mic and say hello and ask your question.
Wow, this is amazing. I never get selected. I'm so
Hi,
surprised.
Sandrika.
Thank you so much. This is such a wonderful gift. I have felt this intuitive, how do you say, inklings since the beginning of time. but I didn't trust it like I I was one of those people that could communicate with animals, and I was made to feel that I was the oddball, and I would try to explain things to the adults around me, and they would kind of shut me down. And throughout my life, my intuition would pop up, but then I wouldn't trust it, and then I don't hear that still small voice anymore. But I had a collection of animals, and I kid you not, I could sense what was going on in their little lives.
Mm.
And I also really am really can connect also with children. So I am an adult now. I'm sorry, rambling, but I want to bring that intuitive gift back, but I don't
Yeah.
trust what I hear. So
Yeah.
just anything
First,
would be wonderful.
yeah.
Sorry.
So I love it. I'm just feeling so much into your field. One thing that before I forget to one of your oh yeah, one of your guides was saying permission to play again, and right, and they're showing me when you were a little girl. So permission to play again is a very big piece. So there's a lot there, but you do have this born gateway open, so highly telepathic, but also it's an interesting combination where it's your clairgnosis, um, and your clairsentience. So it's like a beautiful, so when I see this, it's like this beautiful collaboration of several of your clairs that allows you to really just know on multiple levels. So knowing beyond just gnosis, but actually feeling, knowing, which also really allows you to, it really benefits telepathy, right? So you have this natural configuration, this natural orientation to that. Now I think you know what it is, like getting back to that. So I had a similar journey. Like if I look at me now, I am like I was when I was 5 years old. But if you had met me 20 years ago, you would not recognize me, right? I was so disconnected from that. So that's kind of what you're explaining too, that small voice kind of, you don't hear it so well anymore.
Yes.
You've kind of trained yourself out of that, right?
Yeah.
So a big part of that is training. So a big part of that is untraining for you specifically, because you didn't completely lose all that. Your natural makeup is still your natural makeup, right? But really, your guides are saying again, the kind of like the easiest way is permission to play, allowing yourself to play again like you were, you're a little girl. I saw a lot of different little fears and beliefs about that not being okay because I'm an adult now and what will others think of me, right?
Yeah.
But at some point, hun, you're going to have to drop that and stop caring what others think, because that's not why you're here. You're not here to care what other people think. You're here to bring in a new template, to show a new way of being. And so that's where your focus should be, not caring what others will think, because you're not meant to fit in. You didn't fit in when you're young, and you
No.
still don't fit in, hun. And
No.
that's okay, because you're not supposed to fit in. Your difference is here to make a difference. Does that make sense? Is that clear?
Wow, that was wonderful. Thank you so much. That made
Yeah. And your
perfect
biggest
sense.
gift, yeah, your biggest gift is that beautiful heart, right? And that purity of heart is why you connect so well to animals. And I also see that plant communication would be easy for you, right? So it's because that purity of heart, right? So you came in with so much love. And so I'll just stop there, but I really hope you took what I said to heart and really start following that inner voice again, that heart's calling, and really start addressing each of those beliefs they arise. Whenever you feel yourself triggered about nervousness about, well, what will my colleagues at work think? Or, eventually you're going to melt all that away, just as I did. Now, I don't care if anybody thinks I'm a weirdo for talking to plants, because plants are my friends and I love them and I talk to them.
It's fantastic. I love
Right?
it. Yes.
So, yes. So many blessings to you. How love that is bringing gorgeous energy to the planet that we so need. We need it.
Thank you so much. That was so beautiful. I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Mhm.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much, Tendrika. Okay, let's go to Carrie or Kari. Carrie, hi. You can unmute and ask your question.
Hi there. I'm taking your grounding course at the end of the month, so I'm excited about that.
Awesome. That's a fun one-on-one session we'll do together.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I guess my question would just be a general one. if there's a particular Claire, I feel my ears are quite sensitive, but I also can pick up people's thoughts. So
Yeah, so the first thing though I'd want to address is this timidness in your field. So as I tune into your field, it's a flavor of uncertainty, but mostly timidness. Like, is it okay to do this? Like, it's like those gifts really want to express, but the best word is like this timidness in your field, like apprehension about it. Like part of it's not like sometimes I see it's really about permission, but for you, it's maybe less about permission, but just this like, is this okay to do? Like this timidness, right? So that needs to be addressed. What's holding you back from really just owning those parts of yourself, even if it's by yourself and using them?
okay.
So and to your question, I just wanted to share that. And so what was your question again, love?
Just I guess just general, anything that you wanted to share.
Okay, so okay, yeah. So that's what came up right away. Let me just look at some of your other pathways and see if there's anything else that wants to pop out and be shared. Okay, so that Clairaudience channel is quite open. But I'd say about 33% compared to what's available to you now. So 33% isn't bad actually, but for you, there's a lot of room for expansion right now. So just because I think you said something about your clairaudience. Yeah, telepathy is another really cool thing that I see coming online for a lot of people right now. So I would lean into what's already kind of one that you're most passionate about exploring or you're most excited about exploring. Or what naturally is kind of presenting. So, and some of the other ones are kind of more dormant, I would say, like the Clairsentience. And I'm just looking at, okay, does that want to be open more? Sometimes, I see that it's a timing thing that some clairs want to be opened first, and then the other ones will kind of follow.
Right.
But yeah, for you, that definitely addressed what I mentioned at that first thing that I saw. And then just what I also see in the clairgnosis pathway, it's actually I see naturally quite open, but there are a couple, two in particular significant blocks there that kind of highlight. So again, blocks are not permanent, right? They just need awareness and transmutation. So,
Right. Right.
yeah. So, yeah, I guess I'll stop there.
That's exciting. Thank you.
It's an exciting place to be in, especially those open channels that you have naturally quite open there. So
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thanks, Loren.
Thank you, Goddess. Thank you. Thank you. Awesome. Okay, one more. Do you have time for one more?
Yes.
Okay. And we are so sorry, beautiful hearts, that we cannot get to everyone, but your questions are very important, and we hope that you've received some beautiful guidance anyway on how you can expand your psychic abilities. Okay, this time we are going to Kathy. Kathy. Hi, Kathy. You can unmute yourself.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. Thank you.
Hi.
Thanks,
Hi,
Loren.
Kathy.
Hi, Godelieve. Oh my God. Okay, so my main clair is clairagnosticism, and then clairsentience is my second. And sometimes, well, I used to think it was the other way around because I feel things more than I know.
Yeah.
But what can you help me out with maybe what I need to do or know to expand more on that and my other ones? I feel like sometimes I get a little clairaudience hits.
Yeah, actually, you're right about that. So first, what I see is your clairsentient potential is the biggest right now, right? And second, I would say clairaudience, actually. So those two are highlighting most, but that potential for your clairsentience, that's the one that really wants to open up most, like your higher self just showing me that that's actually what wants to be leaned into, and that will kind of up level those other clairs along with it. Let me just see, because there's some, in terms of the throat chakra, that's what I would say, that's a big thing for you. So that has to do, actually, that is connected to your clairaudience. Speaking your truth is a big deal, right? So being able to, because that's where I see a lot of the resistance. I see that psychic information coming in clairaudiently, but it really gets resistance majorly and stuck and doesn't really express. So it's creating a lot of resistance, I guess is the best word. And what do you call it? Backlogging, or clogging in some of the regions of your energetic field, and relating to your clairaudience. But I did see immediately that your clairsentience really is the one that wants to be leaned into now. So I think you're underestimating what's possible. It's an incredibly powerful clair. I didn't talk about it today, but a lot of people think that clairsentience is just feeling emotions, but it's absolutely not. That's empathy. That's one small piece of clairsentience. Clairsentience is you can feel anything, the ability to feel the energy of your guides, let's say, the ability to feel things that kind of come up against your field, the ability for you to feel yourself in another timeline, right? Or to feel your higher self energies, right? So clairsentience is an amazing gift, and that really wants to open up more for you. And I do see that really also boosting your clairaudience. And like I said, there's some stuff also in the clairgnosis clair. I mean, it's not abnormal, right? Most people have blocks there. So yeah, so you'd want to address that too then. But hopefully that kind of
Yeah,
sheds
no,
some
that
light.
thank you. I do feel actually way more than kind of I want to, but
Oh, that's the belief that you're
oh,
going to want to address. Way more than I want to. So you have this belief that there are things out there to feel that don't feel good. I don't want to feel them, right? So that is automatically going to restrict your ability to feel out far and vast,
I
right?
do though. What I do already is, and I guess I didn't state it
Yeah.
clearly, and some just aren't that don't feel that good.
Yeah, well, that's true. But you're sending all your feelers out there, and a lot of times you're running it through your body, which you don't need to do, right? So you need to kind of learn how to do that. It's too much for where we are right now, Loren, to have a little class on that, right? But
Okay.
that's something that you're going to want to learn, is how to really become a master of your own energy and be able to discern which energies that you allow yourself to feel, which energies that you don't, right? Like there's so much at play there. There's
Right.
one other thing that I wanted to mention to you. It slipped my mind now, darn it. I forget what it was now. I'm sorry. If it comes back to me, I'll blurt it out at the end. But yeah, that
Okay.
feeling ability. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
That's why I always record sessions, because I afterwards I'll I forget so easily sometimes. One thing about is, so I've been identifying blocks, like in people's chakras, you got a couple things right there, just because I'm doing like micro readings right now, right? But in the workshop, before the workshop, because I want you to get the most out of the workshop, in the one-on-one supersensory pathways assessment, scan, and reading, I'm going to go into each block and tell you the flavor of it. So is it anchored by a belief? Is it an imprint that wasn't yours? It's an energy that came from outside, right? Like I'm going to give you the details about all the blocks so that during the workshop, we can lay it all out on the table for release, right? So I'm going to give you much more detailed information when we do that supersensory pathways assessment, scan, reading.
So awesome. We are so excited. And even what you shared with us today is incredible beginnings for us to explore even more. And this is, again, how we bring forward our innate abilities. It really is wonderful. Godelieve, again, thank you so much. This has been extremely beneficial and helpful for all of us. And for that, we are so grateful for you. Kudos coming in. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. Again, you are so important on this planet, and we offer these teachings so that you can make the most of your life. And this ripples out across our planet in the most miraculous and incredible ways. And it helps us in this chaotic, in the seeming chaos of times, where we are here now to build new earth as the old paradigm is absolutely crumbling, shifting under our feet like sand. And yet, with these skills and these tools, we are empowered in wonderful ways to step forward and do what we came here to do in this incarnation. Godelieve, thank you. As we say goodbye, I want to give you a moment for final thoughts.
I would just love to echo what you said about, with all, the old paradigm crumbling, right? And it's more important now than ever, right? If we have our guidance system working, then we will be led through the eye of the storm, so to speak, right? And we will be able to receive those messages to keep following along with the Earth's transitions and know our piece of the puzzle, know our place, where to be at what time, and so start, really opening up those channels and embracing that. Now is the time. So if you've for years maybe had this wanting to, explore these parts of yourself, now is the time, loved ones. Now is the time.
And Fallon says, "Eye of the Storm" is literally part of a song that she's been channeling.
Oh, beautiful. I love that.
And if we know the eye of the storm, actually, we've been under a pressure zone, a tropical pressure zone here where I am on the planet. And so the eye of the storm is where absolute stillness and beauty come from. The sun comes out and it's complete peace. We are the eye of the storm. Thank you, Godelieve, so much for being here. Many blessings to you and everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Loren, for all the work you do. I love it. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us live. Bye for now.
Bye. Bye-bye. Love you.
Yes.
Thank you for listening to this quantum conversation, and thank you for dancing with us to the cosmic heart. As we raise our own vibration, we raise the vibration of the planet. This show is dedicated to you and all awakening hearts, as we are here to shine our bright light and amplify our love. I'm Loren Gailey, and from my sacred heart to yours, I honor your magnificent love and light. This has been a presentation of New Earth One Network, your home for New Earth living. Access information, education, and videos on living from the heart in unity consciousness. Visit newearth1.com.